Coming to you at the back of that press briefing by the two ministers, Minister Park Stow and Minister John Steenhuisen. And I'm joined now by Minister Steenhuisen, who will just give us a sense of this particular engagements that have been ongoing with the United States. At the same time, the agricultural sector becomes very important, and we see that in the pork space, there are moving pieces there. Maybe just give us a sense of where we find ourselves as we see these continued engagements.
Well, I think it's very important that we retain access to the United States market and that we have a trading relationship with the United States. But I think what is clearly evident now from this latest unilateral imposition of tariffs that we do now need to diversify into other markets so that we're not beholden in any one sector to a particular market. So I see the strategy as twofold. One, obviously continued engagements with the US. I think Cabinet's adopted a very broad, generous offer, which Minister Tao has steered through the Cabinet. I'm comfortable that it addresses, certainly from the agri space, many of the concerns that are there. I think it is a generous offer, and I hope that the US is able to accept it. But at the same time, it is a real wake-up call for us to get out there now and start selling our goods in other parts of the world so that we're never overly reliant on any single market into the future.
Just give us a sense of the progress around the export support desk, because that avenue becomes very important, and we hear that already the desk is helping out some of those companies or entities that may find themselves vulnerable.
Well, that's Minister Tao's area of responsibility, but he has said very clearly today that there have been a number of companies that have reached out to look for assistance. And I think there's a huge, it's just one of the measures government's put in place to try and help navigate us through these new waters that we are finding ourselves in as South Africa, but also as other countries around the world. There are 136 countries around the world now that have had these tariffs imposed upon them. And I think you're going to see a new normal, a new settling around global trade happening as a result of the new approach by the United States on trade and tariffs.
What then becomes your strategy this time around? Because you have presented similar offers before to the United States, and those were not favorable. What are you anticipating? What are you hopeful for as we see this new offer that is being submitted?
Well, I think that what this new offer does is looks at some of the issues that were raised around the original offers that went in, that were clearly, as they described, they said not ambitious enough. I think we've addressed many of the tariff concerns and the trade concerns, and I think that when the document is eventually made public, I think you would see it as a very broad, generous, and I think ambitious offer to the United States on trade. It's now up to them to look at that and make a decision going forward about whether it is something that they accept or not. But I think that certainly having gone through the document, having engaged with it at Cabinet, I think it ticks the boxes in terms of what is required from a tariff and trade perspective going forward.
And BRICS, does that offer include BRICS? Because there was that 10% as well.
Well, I think we haven't seen the imposition of the 10% from BRICS. And as I said in the press conference, the United States themselves do much more trade with BRICS countries than we do. Particularly Brazil and India and China, and we certainly have not seen that punitive tariff on there. But we are part of BRICS. It's not something that we are just going to walk away from in order to try and secure some tariff agreement. We have bilateral trade agreements with many of those countries, and we are trading with them. I look particularly at the trade we are doing with China, the trade we're doing with India, and the trade we're doing with Brazil. It's very important for our market as well, and it's also going to be a very important part of the diversification strategy.
All right, Minister, thank you very much for giving us your time. The Agriculture Minister John Steenhuisen just speaking to us there about some of the developments around these tariff negotiations with the United States of America. But we hear him talking about diversification as well. Now they're looking at countries like your China, your Japan. There are interests there, but also giving us a sense of how these deals are ongoing around pork, as well as the country continues to try and safeguard some of these sectors that would be affected by these tariffs from the United States. But later on in the afternoon, this is where this new deal will be presented to the United States, with South Africa hopeful that this time around that deal would be favorable. I'm Katlego Logodi for SABC News in Pretoria.